I had been doing a series about fundamentals, and today's post, if you didn't see it yet, on the newsletter for Christian writers was the third in the John Wooden series of fundamentals. Putting the fundamental component parts together is what makes champions. And I've said a few times already that John Wooden started the year of practices with teaching his players how to put on their shoes. And that's practical because he didn't want them to get blisters because that would take them out of practice, but it's also a great metaphor for the idea that everything matters, all the details matter. And he was very good about that. He was very rigid about making sure that they had practiced every fundamental. And today I was talking about conditioning. And conditioning is not necessarily a basketball fundamental, but in any sport you have to have conditioning. So it doesn't matter if you're really, really good. If you run out of gas, then your as players get beat. I can remember times when I played basketball and we had a game where the coach realized we ran out of gas in the fourth quarter. The next week of practices were going to be a lot of runs or suicides or shuttle runs, or all the names I've heard from, where you're running up to the free throw line and back, then up to half the 3-point line and back, then up to half court and back, and up to all the way down and back until you just want to vomit. And then let's do it again. So I was thinking, well, what would that be like for writers? And it reminded me of how many times I've been contacted by someone that said, I've written two-thirds of a book, which actually doesn't mean they wrote two-thirds of a book. It usually means they wrote a book and a half because a lot of the work is going to be what's not going to go in there. But they've run out of steam. They get to the point where, like, they just can't finish. And sometimes it's because they run out of ideas and they get stumped. But other times they're just so tired and mentally tired. So, is there a way to strengthen that in us? For me, one of the things that I just didn't know I was getting was starting on Fiverr at a very low price. I had a just gargantuan amount of work to do every day. So I just had a deadline, had somebody ready to pay me, and I had to get it done. And so I had to push through. Now, it doesn't mean that the work you do when you're pushing past tired is any good necessarily, or that you're going to be able to use it. But if occasionally, practicing wise, if you can push past tired and keep going, then you are going to be able to stretch that muscle in your brain so that your good writing time, actually you get more of it, going forward. So I thought, if you did how I love the timer, and I will always say, set the timer, and when it goes off, quit, especially quit while you're still fresh. But when it comes to practicing for stamina, do the opposite. Set the timer for what you think you could do, let it go off, and then set it for another 10 minutes, and then make yourself keep going. Doesn't mean you have to keep anything that you wrote, but if you did this a few times a week, then it would help you. It would help you learn to focus. Another exercise, I didn't write about this morning, but one that I like and I've brought up many times for different reasons is reading out loud, especially something difficult. And the reason I like this is because it's easy to do. Like, if all else fails, grab the hardest book off your shelf and read it out loud. If you read a line or a paragraph and you didn't get it, go back and do it again. If you didn't get it, go back and do it again. Do this for 20 or 30 minutes. It expands your capacity to think. It expands your capacity to organize your thoughts in the same way that you would need to for writing, and, by the way, giving speeches or sermons. It really brings things into focus. I had some of the best years of preaching ministry in my life when I was doing this regularly. I had a friend, I convinced a friend to do it who was struggling with his preaching, and he started to say that people were beginning to tell him that he was preaching with so much more authority. And I thought, well, that's really interesting because what were they seeing? They were actually seeing clarity of mind. They were seeing that he was speaking without a lot of ums and you knows and like the same thing happens for the writing. It's the exact same thing. You get so much better at putting sentences together when you read hard stuff. And if you want to go another mile, write hard stuff. Write it down, copy it. So the copy work is still going to always be my go-to favorite thing. The other thing, because it's so easy to do, not easy to do, like if it's hard stuff, it's not that it's easy, but it's easy to pick up and do. You don't have to plan for it. You don't have to go think of something. You don't have to go, you just have to pick up the book and read it out loud. The other thing to think about when it comes to conditioning is self-care, which sounds kind of, why would a Christian care about self-care? Don't we care about other people? And yes, and you can overthink self-care. And so, but what I'm saying is you've got an instrument, the brain, and you have to take care of it. You have to keep it optimally fed, rested. There are things that you can do to squeeze more juice out of it, you know. And for me, if I don't take any care with this, if I don't have any intelligent practices, then I have a certain amount of work I can do in the morning that I can count on. This is going to be good enough. But I can get more with certain practices. If I'm disciplined to go to sleep on time, I can get more juice for the squeeze the next day. If I eat a balanced breakfast or whatever you need to eat to feel like you've got some energy and some clarity of mind, I can't really eat sugar and then think well. It makes me it makes me anxious and weird. Um, Also, what do you do when you're done writing and focusing so that you can have another round of writing and focusing? Well, it probably isn't scrolling. One thing that I think if we would do on all these things we're calling fundamentals, probably what would separate the crowd from someone that becomes truly great is deliberate practice on anything. And we get a lot of practice by just writing, but building a plan for deliberate practice is something that most people will not do. They won't do it. I mean, as a music teacher and student, I know that school had it as part of the deal. But after you leave that environment, it's very difficult to impose that on yourself. But if you will do it, you will absolutely grow. So having a list of things that you do just because it's going to make your writing better. And in my first article, I used the analogy that what we wanted to do is scrimmage in practice. But the coach knew before that, we had to do all these dribbling drills, all these shooting drills, all these passing drills. And then when all the fundamental drills were done, then we could scrimmage. And, but most people, they're just going to go straight to the scrimmage. So just getting up and writing something is better than nothing, but it really is scrimmaging. It's not the same as deliberate practice. You guys know the 10,000 hour rule. Various people have tried to debunk it, you know, that, well, it's not really, but the rule is that anything that you do for 10,000 hours, you're going to become an expert at, a master at. But the distinguish the distinction there though is that it's got to be 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. So just writing for 10,000 hours won't cut it, but deliberate practice of writing, where you're actually trying to, do something that's a little tough, is actually going to make a massive impact. If you want to read more about this, there's a good book called Ultra Learning. The author did I guess MIT or somebody like that had their computer science courses all for free online. He took 4 years of computer science in like 90 days and aced all of it using these ultra learning techniques. He learned several languages in a very short time using these ultra learning techniques. So check that out if you're interested in something like that.